Hi, friends. I'm Dawn, the recovery lady. I'm so glad you're here this week. I'm still scratchy throated with this bug. I have a travel bug, I think, but I hope you hang with me today. My name is Dawn, D-A-W-N, not Dawn or Donna, the recovery lady. I am a behavioral health clinician in recovery from life, myself, for so many things. And also journalist. I have an undergrad in journalism. I love media. I love recovery. I love recovery and media for positive social change. And that's why I'm here. Here at the Recovery Lady, we live in the solution. We get well together. This is a safe, clean community. I hope you'll comment, share your thoughts, and join us. So I like to keep these palatable bite sizes, no more than a quarter hour, 15 minutes usually at the most, hopefully. And so you can kind of digest these. It's not a lecture. These are tips. These are tips, recovery tips. So today we're going to talk about the 10 signs that you may have a problem with boundaries. In the last video, I went over the 6 types of boundaries so that you could say, even if you're thinking, gee, first I defined it. Here's the 6 types. You could kind of self-assess, or how am I doing in these areas? And if you're still not sure, these are about 10 tips that will help you it's kind of like a self-quiz. Am I doing this? Because if I am, I might be struggling with my boundaries, okay? So let's look at the top 10 indicators that you could be struggling with maintaining your boundaries. Do you try to please everyone around you? If you're trying to please everybody around you so you can feel needed, so you can feel validated. We talked about this in the video in the Power of No, or Just Say No. I'm not trying to rip off other people's slogans, but it was about no. I haven't even read either of those books. When we're not holding a boundary and we're just saying yes so people will like us, love us, it fills our love tank. We talked about that when I did talk about the no video. That is an indicator that you are violating your own boundaries by letting other people violate your boundaries. Sometimes we do violate our boundaries. We will do something that we don't even want to do, even though we know we don't have time to do it, that nobody asked us to do, just to be busy. So if you're saying that you're just seeing that everything you do is to please people so they'll like you, they're plowing all over you. That people pleasing, if you even have referred to yourself that way, is an indicator that you have a problem maintaining boundaries. Another one is a lack of being able to turn something over to somebody else. So people will maybe ask you, can I help you with that? Can I do that for you? No, I've got it. You don't got it. You need help. You need people to step up and do stuff, and you don't ask for help. And you just take it all on yourself. And then it's like, oh, look at Mary. She does so much for everybody. Yeah. And you've got this whole martyr syndrome thing going. Look at me. I do everything for everybody. No, I've got it. I've got it. I know you're busy. I'll take care of it for you. What did you just say? You just said that person's more important than you. And when we do that, we become a martyr, meaning it's like a way of getting attention, but because you allegedly are doing positive things, but in a negative way. And it also puts you into a victim mode. So that is another indicator. If you have an example of that, you can put it below. I hope I explained that one all right. That is another indicator you could be struggling with boundaries. If you weren't honest with people, here's another way, on how you're being treated. I don't really like the way you spoke to me in that meeting at work today. I was uncomfortable with that. And I would prefer that you don't communicate with me that way in the future. That being able to speak the truth about how you're being treated when you don't like it shows that you have healthy boundaries and good self-esteem. If somebody hurts your feelings, uses sarcasm, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's okay. And you're discounting it, you have problems with boundaries. Because you know what? It's not okay. I trained my kids at a very young age not to say that. When somebody apologizes, never say that's okay. It's not okay. Instead, you just say, well, I appreciate you saying that. We don't carry other people's stuff. and you let them apologize, and you just say, I appreciate that, and never say that's okay. If you are saying that's okay and diminishing it, it's going to happen again because they violated your boundary. You didn't hold your boundary, and now you've trained the person it's okay to treat you that way. Letting other people define your life meaning. There was another video, I touched on this lightly. If you know, I know of somebody right now, but it's somebody, I can't really say who it is in the current situation. Some of my cases I talk about are old, some are current. I'll tell you this. Last time I got my house painted, I went to the local paint store, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like, but I need help with what color, when you're doing accent colors and all that. So I went to my local paint store, and they said, you want a appointment with the, colorologist. I don't know, whatever they're called, the people who help you put the colors together. So I went, a lady was late, and there was a card table set up like in the paint shop. And I sat with her, and she said, oh, I'm so sorry. I was late. She said, I was at my other job. And I said, what do you do? She said, I'm an attorney. I said, you're an attorney? She said, yeah. I went to law school. I did all these things, and I hated it. But my family, everybody expected me to be an attorney. She came from a long line of attorneys, and there was an expectation she would do that. This woman wasn't old. I so respected her. So she used her license. She kept that as an attorney too, because she had let people plow over her boundaries. She was trying to please others by becoming an attorney. She kept the license to do pro bono work, and then worked as a color, if you know the word, put it in the description. I don't know the word. Like a color coordinator, somebody who does palettes and things like that. She had let her boundary be violated to please other people. She let other people define her life. She let other people say, you should, instead of doing what she wanted, because this is what you should do. And when we get to communication styles, I'm thinking maybe in the summer, probably in the summer, if not before that, you're going to hear how the all or nothing thinking we're going to talk about, and should, that's a red flag word. Nobody should tell you what you should do. That is a lack of boundaries. I respected her, the palette color lady, because she found her voice and her inner self and her passion before she gave her whole life up, and was one day saying, I wish I had. So that's another indicator. If you're letting somebody else define your life, the meaning of your life, tell you what to do and tell you what not to do, to please them, and it's your life. Another indicator you have struggles with boundaries. I have a whole video on this one, so it won't stay too long. Another one is saying no. That when you say no, you feel like you're letting people down, and it makes you feel guilty, and you just can't get it out of your mouth. If you really struggle with that, because that shows you have no boundaries if you can't say no and you're doing things you don't want to do. I won't expand on it too much here, because there's a reason. I go into it in the video, the say no video. So I think it's the video 2 or 3 videos back from this one, that recovery tip. Please go back and watch it. When you can't say no, and our body, our higher power wires us. Our instinct, the Holy Spirit, our gut tells us when we need to say no, when we push it down. Please go back and watch that video. That's another indicator that you're struggling with boundaries. Okay, I have a couple more. When you fall too quickly for somebody that you don't know very well. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with Johnny. I gotta have Johnny. And you just have it's like there's no filter. You just have all this love. You just meet them. And then before you know it, you're spewing your whole thing on them, and you're in love with them, and you get that obsessive thinking with them, and you're unsafely telling them who you are, what you like. It's date 1. Maybe you're in the bar and just met them. That is a sign that you have a boundary violation, and a lot of unmet needs as well. They're good relationships, friendships, excuse me, love relationships are built on a foundation of fair exchange and sharing. If you have any kind of a relationship, even a friendship, where you're This happens in friendships too. They will tell me about you. Tell me about you. And you tell them all about you. And you're like, okay, tell me about you. Oh, no, no, no. Let's keep it about you. You know what? If you're in a crisis or something that day, that's okay. But if you look at a relationship and I don't care if it's a romantic, a friendship, a work relationship, somebody just wants to know about you and they're not sharing about themselves, it's not a safe person. And we do have a safe person video on here too. That falling in love with somebody too quickly or just meeting somebody and doing the emotional vomit thing. How are you? Well, I was at the doctor today and then I had a fight with my boyfriend. And then my kids did this. And then and like 5 minutes go by, you emotionally vomited on them. Think of it. Think of it. Have somebody done that to you? Have you done that to somebody? And then it's like 5 minutes in and you're like, what was your name? Because it was, they just pour it all out there. That's a sign that you have a hard time with boundaries because you aren't able to know when to keep the wall up and protect your emotions and your feelings, and you don't know when it's safe to get to know someone. That's a big one. You may also have a problem with boundaries if you're crossing somebody's physical boundary. You could just be older and living alone or have lost a spouse or be an empty nester and you need physical contact and you go to work and you start hugging your coworker. How are you today? The job is not where we go hug our coworkers. There's videos about that now in the workplace. That's crossing somebody else's physical boundary and not appropriate in the workplace. Any workplace you're at right now, if you're working, you've been through a lot of training on what's appropriate in the workplace. If your need is so much that you're crossing other people's physical boundaries, touching, holding hands, wanting to hug, that neediness, that means you have a problem with boundaries. Giving in, we talked about this in the last one, having intimate relationship with somebody you don't want to because you just want them to love you. I heard a pastor say once, love this pastor, he moved on. He said, this was so, nobody, I've known this, but nobody articulated it like this before. He said, women give sex for love and men give love for sex. Okay, think about it. Women give sex for love. Women want to be loved. Our nature is to be nurtured. We want to be cared for. Women will often fall prey to giving sex so that they will be loved because it is an emotional connection for a female. For a female. For a male, men it wires them to be more visually oriented, and it's an act and it's a physical release. So to get the sex from the woman, the man will give love to get sex. Well, look, this isn't black and white, and I know there's all kinds of genders and stuff now. This is just a general summary of having a lack of boundaries. The male in that hypothetical situation, the male is there, violating somebody's boundary to pretend to love them to get the sex, and the woman's violating her own just to get, to give the sex to be loved. I hope that makes sense. But if you're just doing things you don't want to do, that means you have a problem with boundaries. And the other thing is, the last one I'll talk about is doing something you don't want to do, even though it's against your ethics and your values or against your moral compass. This could be if you're a non-drinker going out to, somebody's bachelorette party or bachelor party in a strip joint. It demoralizes women, or men, whatever you're looking at. It is against your belief system, that it disrespects your partner, and you go anyway just so you can fit in with the crowd. Or you're not a drinker. I know somebody that relapsed after almost a year sober once and said, I wasn't thinking about drinking, but then somebody offered me, a cold drink at the pool one day, and I just was getting to know them, and I just wanted to be normal to fit in, so I took it. That person violated their own boundary, and FYI, never got their sobriety back to this day. It's been decades. When a lot of our boundary violations are us violating our own boundaries. Making promises to ourselves, I promise I'll never do that again, and then you do it. And then our self-worth goes down and the shame builds up. Those are examples of the top 10 ways, it's about 10, 9 or 10, that we have a sign we violate boundaries. I want you to think on those, chew on those. If any of them click true with you, that's okay. If you hadn't recognized that was a problem, you just thought that's what everybody did because that's what you saw, that's okay. Because we're going to start moving out of that in the next few. We'll start going, okay, here's a type of boundaries, we did that. Here are the signs we have problems with boundaries. And we're going to move into how do we rectify that? Because here at the Recovery Lady, we are living in the solution. My name's Dawn, D-A-W-N, the Recovery Lady. I'm so grateful you joined me. Please, please, please subscribe, like, and share. I'm so grateful for you guys. Bye. Have a great night.